Hello, good afternoon. This is Ellen Benzine. I'm an account manager with Swipe Clock, and I will be conducting the ApplicantStack Recruit webinar this afternoon. It's 1 minute past the hour. We're going to wait for just another minute while those stragglers are still signing on, and then we'll go ahead and get started. Just a minute, please. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Again, my name is Ellen Benzine. I'm an account manager with Swipe Clock, and I will be conducting the ApplicantStack Recruit webinar this afternoon. With me, I have Carol Kennedy, who is also an account manager with Swipe Clock. She'll be helping me out with any questions that have been posed this afternoon after the demo. We're going to go ahead and get started, however, and this afternoon's topic is obviously ApplicantStack Recruit. We're going to focus on notifications within the ApplicantStack product. So the first thing we're going to discuss is what the notification feature is, what are the benefits of notifications, and how to enable account and user notifications. And then, as usual, we always like to provide downloadable content. And I search a variety of sites for what I think might be interesting. This came from Allie in our marketing department. She writes all of our ApplicantStack blogs. When you get a copy of this PowerPoint presentation after the webinar, that link will be live, and you can click on the link and you can read Allie's blog entitled Mastering the Art of the Interview Templates. And if you have been on prior webinars and Ask Me Anything hours, you know that the Swipe Clock account management team promotes interview templates to use during a discussion with a candidate. All right, just progressing through. The notification feature within ApplicantStack Recruit and onboarding as well enables ApplicantStack users to get notifications surrounding ApplicantStack candidate and job activity. Examples of email notifications can include the following, but certainly there are many more times ApplicantStack users can get notifications. So users can get notifications when candidates successfully apply for a job. Users can get notifications when a candidate submits a questionnaire, or when a candidate is moved from one stage to another. You can also get notifications if you're part of an interview or a phone screen. So there are a variety of instances and circumstances or situations when ApplicantStack users can get notified of candidate and or job activity. And if you have texting in your account, you can even get an email notification when a candidate responds to a text sent by ApplicantStack. The notifications, once again, are email notifications, and they are sent to your email that is part of your user profile. Benefits of notifications: they provide real-time updates on candidate and account activity. So what we've been talking about, there's been a kind of a common theme over the past handful of webinars about employer branding. And employer branding is what not only do your employers think of your company, but what's the perception of your company from outsiders. And part of candidate engagement and communication make up your employer brand. They're a component of your brand. So because you're getting real-time updates from candidates and account activity, this promotes a faster response to your candidates. So if you get an email notification saying that Carol has submitted her questionnaire and the questionnaire is an application for employment, you can immediately access Carol's candidate record, review the questionnaire, and respond to Carol. So because of those real-time updates via our notification feature, it promotes a faster moving recruiting process and promotes candidate engagement, which creates a positive employer brand. So wrapping all of that up, according to the Society of Human Resource Management, it can take between 24 and 36 days from application to offer. So, if you've got a critical position that you need to fill quickly, you need every single tool that you can in order to fill that position, and notifications are part of that toolbox that you have within ApplicantStack. Notifications do need to be turned on, although I think the default in ApplicantStack accounts are that they are turned on. If you have texting in your account, it's a system setting that needs to be turned on so that all ApplicantStack users will get an email notification when a candidate texts. You can see that on the left screenshot. Within the user profile, you also need to have notifications turned on for emails, as well as text email notification toggled to on as well. So as we go through the demonstration of the product, I will highlight notifications and where you can access notifications within the Recruit product. Understand that you can do the same for onboarding. Before we get to the demo, as always, we like to discuss what's coming up. You'll see on August 27th, Carol will be presenting on your initial application process and setup and how you can modify that to suit your own needs. September 24th, we'll be discussing automating reference checks. And September 12th, we'll be talking about onboarding, providing an onboarding demonstration, and we'll be highlighting our checklist function in onboarding on September 12th. So let's get started to the product demo. Just going to move to another tab. You should now be seeing my demo recruit homepage. So again, this is a product demo for ApplicantStack Recruit. I've input my login credentials and it brings me to my ApplicantStack homepage. So as I always say, this is kind of the snapshot to my ApplicantStack world. You can go in many, many different directions from your homepage. And let's just take it a step at a time. So in the upper left-hand corner, you'll see our announcements panel, and maybe many of you registered for this webinar via the links here. This gets updated at the beginning of every month, I believe, so keep an eye out for additional webinars and Ask Me Anything hours that are included in the announcement panel. And then I did talk about that article that Allie, creates in her ApplicantStack blog, and you can access all of Allie's documents and blogs via this link. And I would highly suggest reviewing those documents because they're just spot on in the recruiting and hiring world as we know it. The middle panel includes all emails that come to you from candidates. And then this far right panel has 3 functions associated with it. A task within ApplicantStack Recruit is a to-do. So in the example you see here on my homepage, I need to submit feedback for an interview on John Nicholas. I need to submit feedback from a telephone screen with George Blake. So I can submit feedback at any time. Tasks are not date and time stamped, and I'm going to scoot over to the Events tab, where events are. So if you use the event scheduling tool within ApplicantStack Recruit, any events that you are part of will show on your ApplicantStack homepage. So as you can see, I have an interview on the 16th. I've got a phone screen scheduled on the 15th. Once these events and tasks have been completed, they'll fall off your home screen, and obviously this will continue to show what tasks you need to be done and what events you are part of. And again, when you're scheduled for an event through ApplicantStack, you get a notification in your email. You can include the event on your calendar, but the event email also includes access to the candidate record and a variety of other information that you'll see within the candidate record. So again, those notifications come in key or are key when scheduling events. This middle function in between job approvals, if you have job approvals turned on and you create a job and you have a sequence of reviewers that need to approve the job, you have the ability to do that within ApplicantStack as well. So you can see I have a project manager that needs my attention. I need to approve that job so that the recruiter or the HR professional can open it and then launch it. More on this dashboard or homepage, I should say, is the pipeline summary of your jobs. So all of these jobs of which I am part of, you can see my recruit flow for my demo account. This is configurable. Your accounts may not probably don't look like mine, I should say, because you can configure these stages to mirror your recruit flow and your recruit processes. Moving up to the top right-hand corner of my homepage, you can search candidates. So if a candidate calls you and says, hey, this is Carol Kennedy and I'm interested in the status of my application, you could quickly input Carol's name and bring up a record and provide the information that Carol wants. Carol's not in here, so that's why nothing is coming up. George Blake is, though, so you could quickly access George Blake's candidate record and discuss the status of his candidacy. Moving to the right, I call this a 3x3 square. I've heard it called a waffle, but this is the toggle that allows you to move from recruiting to onboarding. If you have texting in your account, you'll have the texting bubbles here as well. Any ApplicantStack user can click on the bubbles and see what has been going on in texting with candidates. You can expand it to see a little bit more. And then finally, you have your account login information in the upper right-hand corner, and the question mark will take you to our help center as well as our technical support team. So if you click on Help Center, you can put the topic of interest in the search bar. So it could be something like texting, and any sort of videos and articles that match your search will then come up. Ask a Question brings you to our excellent technical support team. You simply fill out the grid, submit the information from the template, and your technical support question will then be routed to the appropriate person. And it actually could be routed to your account manager if it's an account manager question. It would be routed to a member of our technical support team if it's more of a how-to technical question. That's the ApplicantStack homepage. So let's keep on going. I'm going to move from the Home tab all the way across to the Library tab. We are going to backtrack to Jobs and Candidates, but I'm going to start in the Library because this is typically where you would want to build your ApplicantStack account. The first thing you see are your job templates. So anytime you create a job, I would suggest creating it in your library as a template. And then what that means is you can pull in that template in the future for like jobs or identical jobs for that matter. When you pull in the template when you're creating a job, the text of the job description will come in. You can modify the text or use it as is. And here's a little tip I just want to share with you. When you create a job template, you fill out the pertinent information about the job, but if you are cutting and pasting the text from an outside source, such as Word, I would highly suggest using this icon to paste as plain text. Excuse me. And the rationale behind that is that Microsoft Word has all sorts of codes that are unique to Microsoft. So ApplicantStack doesn't know how to interpret some of that formatting. So if you paste as plain text, that formatting is stripped, and then you have the ability to format your job description from within ApplicantStack. That is just a little tip and trick of ApplicantStack. Moving down the blue menu, still in our library, you can create questionnaires. So questionnaires draw additional information from your candidate, typically your candidates. I have a variety here that you can see. The application for employment, for example, that comes with ApplicantStack is a questionnaire. This is the default application for employment. Other questionnaires in my demo account include EEO data if you collect that sort of information, interview evaluation forms so that you can provide guides to your interview team to interview candidates, collecting of VEVRA information. We can provide those questionnaires that are already created. If you collect CC 305 data, we can provide you that questionnaire as well. So you can create as many questionnaires as you want, and typically I suggest creating a questionnaire for every job because, and I call these qualifying questionnaires, that's the primary use case in my mind, well, one of the primary use cases of questionnaires. So that if you've got specific requirements for a job, you can create a questionnaire surrounding those requirements. So for an accounting manager job, these are my accounting manager questionnaires. You can see, are you authorized to work in the United States? This particular job requires a bachelor's degree. So that question is actually a knockout question. If a candidate says no, when viewing the candidate table, you'll see a knockout square, and I'm going to show you that in a bit. But again, a qualifying questionnaire enables you or allows you to focus on those candidates most qualified for the job if you use knockout and scoring abilities or features within ApplicantStack. So this questionnaire can be a knockout. This questionnaire can be a scoring question, so that behind the questions or behind this question, the candidate might get a score of 10 if he or she has 0 to 1 years of experience, a score of 20 for 1 to 3 years of experience, and so on. So again, you can create questionnaires, you can score questions, and you can make knockout questions. Moving on to message templates. If you send messages, and we define messages as either an email or a text, that if you send them time and time again, there's no need to recreate the wheel. You can create a message template, and when you're ready to communicate with a candidate or candidates in mass, you have the ability to pull in that template and send it off. So for example, this is an email template, and this is simply going out to anybody who successfully applies for a job, thanking them for applying and saying, hey, we'll get back in touch. But other messages might include, hey, we'd like to interview you. Sorry, we're not interested, but please continue to visit our website for future opportunities. Really, anything, any communication that you send time and time again, I would highly suggest creating a message template. Remember those tasks that I have on my homepage? Those were to complete reference checks and interview feedback. Actually, I think it was just interview feedback. But again, task templates can be created. So you're creating those efficiencies within your account. An event is something that's date and time stamped, as we discussed, like an interview. Create a template. Pull the template in when you're sending off that interview to a candidate. And then finally, our documents feature is the ability to pull in merge codes to create an example that you see here, which would be an offer letter template. You can see the merge codes here, and when you send it from a candidate record, the information gets populated and off it goes. So again, the reason why I went from my home page to my library is you can create efficiencies in your library when you're creating jobs and candidates. So let's move back over to the Jobs tab here. And this is my jobs table. These fields are called job fields for obvious reasons. And you can modify job fields or add to job fields. I think you can create up to 30 job fields. And it's information about the job itself. If you specify a job field to be public, it will show on your job board. So if I open up the job board, I'm at the gray menu on the right. This is my job board. These are the fields, the job fields, that I have defined as public. You also have the ability to filter on jobs. So if I am a candidate, and let's say you've got, 20, 25 jobs out there, but they're in a variety of locations, and your candidate is only interested in jobs in Raleigh, North Carolina, then that candidate can apply that filter and see only those jobs. And they can apply multiple filters at the same time as well. But I want to pause right here for a minute because you'll see salary range is a public field on my job board. And that is intentional. And the reason being is Indeed, if you launch your jobs to Indeed, Indeed promotes pay transparency. So they are requesting that salary information goes from ApplicantStack or is part of the feed from ApplicantStack to Indeed. We highly suggest for best practices that you now include salary information with your jobs and it will post on Indeed. What you may have seen is estimated salary ranges on Indeed. And if you don't post salary information through ApplicantStack to Indeed, Indeed will provide estimated salary ranges, which may be accurate, but they may not be accurate. But again, in order to promote pay transparency, Indeed highly suggests that you include salary information with your jobs. The job that we're going to be talking about is the accounting manager opportunity. If I click on the title, you'll see more information about that job. You'll see who the job owners are. They're typically your talent acquisition team, your HR team. Your HR managers are typically those individuals who are looking for the new hire. If I move to the listing tab, this is the text of the job itself. And if I click on preview, this is what your candidate will experience. So a candidate could see your job on Indeed or on Google Jobs or LinkedIn Limited Postings, or they could visit your job board on your company website. So the candidate would review the job description, click on Apply Now, and this is the application process associated with my demo account. Do know this is, again, highly configurable to suit what requirements you want at this initial application time. We do need candidate information, but I have configured a couple more fields here, information about the candidate. Application information in this case includes asking the candidate where they saw the job. So for example, if you're paying to post somewhere, you want to make sure that you capture this source information so you can make sure you're getting your return on investment, again, if you're paying to post. I highly suggest a referral field. Part of that employer branding is promoting or having current employees refer individuals for open jobs. And as a recruiter, I would always go to a referral first, as opposed to looking at any sort of individuals that came in through other sources. Typically, your employers, your current employee base, are going to refer good people that they worked with in the past. Capturing that information can also show on the candidates table. So again, as a recruiter, you might want to go to those referrals first. You can ask for a cover letter if you want. And then this is the default application for employment that comes with ApplicantStack. And it's your choice if you want to include this during your initial application process. If you choose not to, you can always email this or text this to a candidate after you have vetted the candidate and they have vetted you. This is a lot of information. So you can see that with the request of this information, your candidate abandonment rate may increase. But it's totally up to you. If your process requires an application during your initial process, absolutely include it. All right, these are those qualifying questions I showed you in the library. I've attached that to this job. Again, this is a knockout question, so if a candidate chooses no, they are going to get knocked out. They're still allowed to apply. They don't know they've been knocked out, and you want them to apply because they might be a candidate for another opportunity you're recruiting for. If you collect EEO data, we can help you with that as well. If candidates choose to self-disclose, they have the ability to. If not, they can choose not to respond. And then you can run a report on the back end on your EEO and VEVRA data and provide that information to whomever you want. So again, just to reiterate, this process is very configurable. You can capture just candidate information and maybe some qualifying questions and move on from there. Moving across the tabs associated with this job, questions are just that, the questionnaires that have been included with this job. Scoring would involve knockout and scoring of any of those questions. Workflow is the life of the job. If this job had gone through the approval process, you would see that tracked under the approval tab. But I want to spend a little bit of time talking about the launch tab. Because when you create a job in ApplicantStack, you open it, you create it, it's in draft mode, you open it, and then you launch it. So there are a variety of sites that you can launch to free of charge. There are also integrations that we offer with job boards where you have to pay to post. But moving here, your public job board is your company website, so I would always suggest posting there. If you've got an intranet, you have the ability to post through ApplicantStack to your intranet. And what's key here is if you have guidelines that you abide by where you need to advertise your jobs to your current staff prior to posting publicly, you can do so with this internal job board. I'm going to skip down a little bit to third-party job boards. The free job boards where you can launch your jobs from ApplicantStack include Google for Jobs, Indeed's organic free feed, and LinkedIn limited postings. Moving up to JobTarget. JobTarget is a job board integrator, aggregator. That's the term I was looking for, aggregator. So you can launch to over 25,000 sites through job board, some of which are free, most of which are paid, but you can access our Help Center query on JobTarget, and there's a great Help Center article on JobTarget that further defines their capabilities. Social media sites where you can launch your jobs from ApplicantStack include Twitter and include your corporate LinkedIn page. And then finally, manual posting links. Just a brief description of this. We're going to have a Ask Me Anything hour on manual posting links, I believe in October. But they allow you to copy and paste a link so that if you are posting a job on a niche job board, maybe a community college site, maybe a technical site, maybe an association, you have the ability to copy this link, include it in your job posting. And what that means is candidates can click on that link and come right into ApplicantStack to apply for your jobs. So regardless of where candidates see your jobs, if it's on Indeed, if it's on Google Jobs, if it's on your LinkedIn corporate page, if it's on a niche site, if you've included a link, all of those candidates come into ApplicantStack where you and your team can manage them. Moving across, tasks and events can be associated not only with candidates, but also jobs. Information or info, excuse me, is a free-form field, and history captures all the activity associated with the job automatically. So moving back to the full jobs table, you can see the information that I've got showing on my jobs table. And under stage, I would highly suggest, once again, launching your jobs to the free sites, which include your job board, Indeed's organic free feed, Google for Jobs, and LinkedIn limited postings, and the icons here will show that. Moving back to where you can launch your jobs, you can also launch your jobs, as I mentioned, to Indeed's organic free feed, and then from within the ApplicantStack, you can also sponsor those jobs. And what that means is if you sponsor a job from ApplicantStack, it is on Indeed's site, but again, those candidates come right into ApplicantStack to apply. And sponsorship, by definition, means you are paying to post on Indeed. And what that means is the visibility of that job will rise to the top versus frequently, time and time again, actually, versus Indeed's organic free feed, where your job goes lower and lower into their organic feed. From the gray menu on the right, you have quite a few functions associated with jobs, which includes creating a job. We open the job board. You can search jobs. You can see a variety of other functions associated with jobs that you can do. I'm going to move over to the Candidates tab now up top from the Jobs table. And this is the Candidates table. So there's a lot of information here as well. I expanded my filters for my candidates table because I wanted to show you what a KO square looks like. So you remember that account manager questionnaire says, do you have a bachelor's degree? That was a knockout question. If a candidate said no, this is what's happened. This is what happens. So you then have the ability to move those candidates into a do not pursue stage or something like that. And you can disposition those candidates as well. And in this case, John and Mark have insufficient education. I'm going to click on Expand Filters. I'm going to drill down to the Accounting Manager job. That's the job that I've been using as an example. And I'm going to move over to Active Candidates. So these are the candidates in the mix for the opportunity. You can see there's a variety, again, of information here. Candidate name, source, if there was a referral, which I talked about earlier, when the candidate record was created and modified, and what stage the candidate is in. So if I sort on stage, wanted to do that the right way, you'll see candidates move through the stages of your recruit flow. Again, we looked at the recruit flow on my ApplicantStack homepage. So for example, this candidate, Laurie Hill, has already been moved from the new stage. So again, a recruiter evaluated Laurie's credentials and said, hey, this candidate I want to pursue. The manager review stage is the next stage in the recruit flow. And the benefit of manager review is you are sharing all of this information with your hiring managers electronically. There's no printing out of paper. There's no emails via your Outlook. All of the candidate information is being shared electronically through ApplicantStack. So the manager can review Laurie's credentials, see how she answered questionnaires, and say, hey, I think this is a viable candidate. Let's move Laurie to the next stage. So if I was just going to say, green means go, red means do not pursue. So if I click on go, which means Laurie is moving on in your recruit flow, the next stage in my recruit flow is the phone screen stage. So there are a lot of things here in this pop-up. The manager could provide a high-level rating on Laurie, add a note. Emails can be triggered. Texts can be triggered if you have premium texting. But the email here that's going to be triggered is going to Laurie saying, hey, we like what we saw. We want to schedule a phone screen. Give us some available times. And the text can say a duplicate message. But get a load of this. You can add a notification. So anybody that you want to add to notify, you can do so as long as they're an ApplicantStack user. So again, that notification feature is a real-time feature that provides activity on candidates and jobs. Once I confirm the stage change for Laurie, she'll move to the next stage, which again in this case is phone screen. And seems like something might be going on here. Let's try that again. All right, I am getting some sort of error message here, so I do apologize. We're getting some storms. Let's continue. But the thought process here is you move your candidates through the stages of your recruit flow until an individual is ultimately hired. And again, you can use your filters in order to expand upon jobs and candidates and find those individuals that you are looking for. Moving to the gray menu on the right, you can create a candidate on your own. You can see a variety of functions here. You can upload a resume. You can upload an email, and if it has an attachment, which is a resume, a candidate record will be created in both of those instances. You can add a candidate to another job. So for example, if Laurie is really not a candidate for the account manager opportunity, but she is a candidate for an account supervisor opportunity, you can add her to another job. You can search your candidate database. We're going to spend a little bit of time here because this is critical. As a recruiter, if I posted a new job, I would immediately search my database. Who have we talked to in the past that might be a candidate for this new opportunity? So it was like, okay, what was that individual's name? What was her first name? I forget the full name, but I know the first name was George. I think he made it it was an accounting manager job for which he applied. And you can see a variety of these other filters that you can use to search your database to look for individuals for jobs for which you're recruiting. You can, if you have an email of a candidate, you can search on an email, zip code within X number of miles. So again, you can see there's a variety of fields you can mix and match in order to search for candidates. We also support a keyword search. So if you input keywords here, any candidates that match the search filters and the keywords will be shown in the search results. We do support Boolean operators, so you can use those keywords or those Boolean operators like and or not in order to search for candidates as well. If I trigger this search, we have George Blake, who's applied for that accounting manager job. But in theory, you could have many candidates who match your search criteria. You could then highlight all of those candidates and then email the candidate or text the candidate if you've got texting capabilities. You can email the candidate. You can say, hey, we have created a new accounting manager opportunity. You may be interested. Are you available? And again, through mass communication, email and or texting, you can contact those folks immediately. So if you email a candidate, you can choose a message template. If you recall, we did talk about messaging in the library. So any sort of message that you have created in your library, you could actually choose here and send off to your candidates that matched your search criteria. So ApplicantStack, again, can search your database, provide results, you mass communicate with those candidates, and off you go to your recruiting efforts. Other functions on the candidate table from the gray menu on the right, you can run reports. We do have a reports tab up top as well. We just talked about emailing candidates. If you've got texting in your account, you can text candidates as well. Creating tasks, scheduling, and events we talked about. If I choose now to interview or schedule an interview with George, I can schedule an event, pull in one of those templates, in this case, an interview template. Carol and I are both interviewing. You can complete event description. If you choose to input an internal note, know that the candidate will not see that note. So you could say, hey, drill down a little bit more on their supervisory skills, something along those lines. You specify the event location, fill in the rest of the template information, which would include the date of the interview, end and start time, end and start, that didn't come out right, start and end time. You can choose to include the candidate if you wish, and you can choose to provide the interview team a template, an interview form to complete after the interview has been finished up. Once this gets saved, an email, once again, a notification email, will go to the ApplicantStack interview team and will go to the candidate. They can add the interview, the event to their calendars. And the beauty of it all is that all activity with George and any other candidates is always tracked within the history tab. All activity. So if for any reason I can't make the interview that day, Carol can access George's record, see all activity with George, and interview him. All right, moving down the gray menu, there are a variety of other options. You can add attachments. You can move a candidate through the stages of your recruit flow. You can edit information about the candidate if you so desire. The add note is a free-form field. I always caution any ApplicantStack users to make sure that your free-form fields provide information that is I'm trying to figure out how to say this, is correct. There's no reference to any sort of race, creed, color, any sort of information that would be deemed protected class information. All right, we've talked about the library function. Again, that houses information that you use time and time again. I did move over emails, tasks, and events. Those are all system-wide, and you can click on any of those functions, use your filters, and find what you're looking for. The final tab across the top is the Reports tab. ApplicantStack provides dashboard reports. Those cannot be modified, but reports do come with your account, and your reports can be modified and you can create new reports. So you can see a variety of information that's included here. EEO summary reports are always popular. You can find active job detail that includes your time to fill number. So again, a variety of reports are provided with ApplicantStack and you can create your own. The final thing I want to show you is I have signed in as an ApplicantStack administrator. I'm going to go to Update Settings, and you'll notice this is where you turn your text notifications on if you want to be, well, if you have texting in your account and if you want to be emailed every time you get a text from a candidate. If I move to the users and access my user profile, again, this is where you turn notifications on. These are your email notifications, and then this is your text email notification. So if you recall, texting needs to be turned on or texting notifications at the account level, and then you have controls at the user level as well. The final thing, as an account admin, if you are an account admin, you have the ability to configure your account. You can create those job fields, those candidate fields. You can modify your workflow. You can modify your initial application process. And if you've got any questions on how to do so, feel free to create a technical support ticket, and we can absolutely help you through that process. All right, I have been talking for a long time. We want to make sure we do have time for questions and answers. Carol, I think you're going to help me out. First of all, have I missed anything critical, Carol?
No, you have not. Thank you so much. That was a great review.
So these product webinars are meant to provide, obviously, an overview of the product, unlike Ask Me Anythings that highlight a feature for 10 or 15 minutes. So, okay, Carol, do we have any questions?
Sure. Excuse me. Just to remind everybody, they can be anything ApplicantStack related. They can be recruit. They can be onboard. We welcome all questions, and we'll do our best to answer those for you. So we welcome you to enter those in the questions panel. Okay, first question, Ellen. My hiring managers are mentioning that they can't see candidates. What might be the cause of that, or how do I fix that?
Okay. So two things you need to check on when you create a job, and I'll use the accounting manager job as an example. Make sure you have added those individuals as a hiring manager to the job. That will give them visibility to the job and the candidates. But the other thing you need to check is, do hiring managers have what we call ownership of your stages? So if you want hiring managers to see candidates in the new stage throughout and throughout all of your stages, your workflow needs to be configured so that they have, again, ownership of all of those stages. And it means as you move your candidates through the stages, they will continue to have visibility to those candidates.
Thank you, Ellen. The only thing I might add to that is on the candidate screen, sometimes the filters up at top have not been fully expanded. So it's possible that it looks like there's no candidates, but they're actually there. You just need to open up your filters. Okay, so those are the three things that always pop into my mind. As Ellen had mentioned, making sure they have access to the job, making sure they have access to the stage and the workflow, and making sure their filters are opened up.
Excellent, thank you.
Next question. You showed when you're setting up an interview, you can put an internal note in there on the candidate profile itself. If I take a note, will they be able to see it?
The candidate will not be able to see the note.
Okay.
So if I click into Laurie Hill's record, I'm ready to schedule a phone screen with her, which is deemed an event because it's date and time stamped. It takes place on a certain day at a certain time. I can again pull in the template. Let me get in the right spot. Here's my telephone screen template. Specify who the interview team is. And I think the question is here, Carol, internal note. This will only show to the ApplicantStack users. It will not show to the candidate.
And same applies from the candidate table. If you go to add note in the menu, does the same apply there when you add a note to the candidate record rather than through an interview? Yep, there you go.
Yeah, so when you add a note, only ApplicantStack users can see the note as well. And really, just to expand on that question, candidates do not have access to their candidate record. So what I've been showing you today is from the ApplicantStack user perspective. Now, for a note here, you will notice that if an ApplicantStack administrator or an ApplicantStack recruiter makes a note and they don't want a hiring manager to see it, that box can be checked. The other option here is make it a global note. So, for example, if Laurie Hill applies to multiple jobs and an individual and applicant stack user is inputting a note, and that note should span all jobs that Laurie applies for, then by checking that, that note will be included in all candidate records for Laurie.
Fantastic. Thank you, Ellen. Okay, next question. Under the Jobs tab, Launch section, manual posting links, if we use a third-party software to complete applications, can we add that link here?
A third-party software. So it sounds like there's some outside recruiting being done.
Perhaps. Typically, you would want candidates to come back into ApplicantStack, so everything is being tracked in one place. So if you place a link to a third-party software, some job sites will not accept a link. That would be one thing I might caution you about. And the other thing would be that at that point you're defeating the purpose a little bit, since you'd have to go to 2 different places to track your candidates. That would be the feedback I would have with regard to that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, next question. Is there a way to have a quick visual ranking of our candidates, which ones we're really interested in, maybe less so interested in? Just a quick snapshot of visual representation of that.
Okay, that's your 5-star system right here. So any applicant stack user can input a visual of 5 stars, 1 being low, 5 being wonderful candidate. And if applicant stack users, if there are multiple applicant stack users that use this 5-star system, it'll be an average of the input. So for example, look at me. Wait, Joseph Kelly, we're going to look at. I have to look at the right record. Under the feedback tab is where you can provide that visual. So if I click on add feedback, and again, any applicant stack user can do this, you simply specify how many stars and you submit. So I think I answered that question, Carol. The other thing, just to expand a bit on it, is this is information that applicant stack users input, right? But remember, you can use questionnaires and you can score questions within questionnaires. So your candidates, when they complete those questionnaires, again, they're scored, you might focus on those candidates that have the higher scores here. But again, that's coming from the candidate application process. It's the 5-star system is coming from your applicant stack users.
All right, great. Thank you, Ellen. We've got one more question. We've got about 5 more minutes, so everyone feel free to go ahead and submit your questions. As far as tracking interview notes, how can I have my interview team, track those notes, maybe get a reminder to go ahead and complete that interview feedback?
Okay.
We have trouble getting that information sometimes.
Okay. So from the candidates tab, again, I'm going to go into Laurie's record. And when I schedule an event, you can pull in a template. As we know, they reside in the library. You can specify who your hiring team is. This was pulled in from the template. You would fill out this information, again, where the interview is taking place, the date, the time, and I am getting to the answer to your question, Carol, I promise. Include the candidate so they have it on their calendar. But this is the questionnaire. You can assign a questionnaire to your applicant stack users, the interview team, and you can create this questionnaire. Your applicant stack accounts actually come with 2 interview evaluation forms. So if I choose interview evaluation form 1, and then I specify to send an email reminder, another instance of a notification every 2 days until the interviewer has completed this evaluation form. So this promotes consistency in interview feedback, and it also promotes a guideline to ask those interview questions. And if the interview team does not submit the interview form in a timely fashion, they're going to get a notification every 2 days in order to do so. Was that the question, Carol?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay,
Just we need that little nudge just to go ahead
right.
and get those folks to go ahead and get those submitted. Okay, that is all I see at the moment for questions. We'll give everyone just a last chance to get those submitted. I did want to draw attention in the chat box. We've got our upcoming webinars and some links. We would love to see you there if you'd like to register. And with that, Ellen, I don't see any more questions, so I think
Okay.
we are in a good spot.
All right. And again, you can register for upcoming webinars and Ask Me Anything hours via the announcement section. One last plug for our excellent technical support team. You can access them by clicking on the white question mark and ask a question, completing the template, and again, that will be routed to the appropriate person. So, as always, we thank you for your time. I hope this webinar was beneficial. We do talk about a lot of features and functions within ApplicantStack, so please do not hesitate to submit a ticket if you need further clarification or if you need help implementing any of these features. So again, thank you for participating. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon. We'll see you on a future ApplicantStack webinar. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.